Let's watch a little whitetail rut activity. This video will show a lot of the classic breeding behaviors many folks know about, but not too many have ever seen. It's nice, of course, that the main character in this scene happens to be such a terrific model. Throughout the video you're about to see, notice how the dominant buck, the Droptine fellow here, has to divide his attention between the doe, who's exhibiting all the signs she's ready to breed, and all the other satellite bucks that are on the sidelines ready to step in at the first opportunity. It's obviously the peak of the rut here, and I've been trying to get video of this buck all season. It's the third year I've been watching this buck, and I believe him to be a 6-year-old. How incredible to catch him in this situation. When I first spotted him, he was just standing in the middle of the buffalo grass field for some time, quite motionless. So I decided to sneak up in some very heavy brush that's along the edge of the field there, and I stopped about 150 yards away, thinking that was about as close as I'd be able to get. That's when the doe stood up, and I realized what might be happening here. From there, what transpired is a nature videographer's dream come true. Now I'm not in a blind here, rather just hidden behind a thin veil of brush along the edge of the field. And while the wind is such that they can't smell me, there's no question that they know something's not quite right. Yet the drive to procreate is far more compelling than the fear of some unknown blob hidden behind a cactus. So the buck has to divide his attention between what I might be, the doe's receptivity, and all the other bucks in the field that I suspect simply wish the Droptine buck would drop dead. An interesting thing to observe as this video unfolds is how many bucks are in the field. You can start with the two behind him now. Also, note how the different age classes behave to this situation. The older bucks are ready to take advantage of any lapse the dominant buck may exhibit, while the younger bucks seem all excited, but frankly they're not quite sure what they're excited about. But none of them seem willing to directly challenge the dominant fellow here. Notice how the doe keeps urinating and tucking her tail as she moves around the field with the buck close behind, sniffing every sign she offers. It's my understanding that the urine offers the hormonal clues that she's ready to breed. The physical behavior, however, of the tail tucking and strutting around the field as she does strikes me a tad more like barroom flirting. Whatever, it certainly holds the buck's total attention. It's common knowledge that bucks get a bit goofy and vulnerable during the rut, and this may last for 2-3 weeks or maybe even more. But it's also true that does have a significant behavior change at breeding time. It just may not last quite as long as it does for the bucks. Now a little bit about the buck you see here. This video was taken during the 2018-2019 season, and as I said earlier, I think he's a 6-year-old. In a future video, I'll show how he progressed, starting at 4 and then 5, as there's always a lot to learn watching how these bucks change into maturity. From February through August of 2018, we only received 3 inches of rain, and temperatures were over 100 degrees most of the summer. The ranch was parched, with nothing growing. Therein lies the value of a supplemental feeding program, as undoubtedly we would have had a die-off without it. We've maintained a robust supplemental feeding program for many years and have also distributed water via PVC and water troughs throughout the ranch. This investment helps to maintain the deer herd on as healthy a plane as possible under such incredibly harsh conditions. How amazing the deer can survive, much less grow antlers in situations like this. That said, we've been fortunate enough to find this buck's right side, the side with the Droptine, both from this year, the rack you see right here, as well as from the previous season. And it's interesting to note that it's almost identical in overall size and configuration. And now, back to the rodeo. I believe old Mr. Droptine here would love to get that doe away from all these bucks and not be so harried. She doesn't seem to want to cooperate. Watching how much he has run just during this short video, it's easy to see why bucks get so run down during the rut, losing as much as 25% of their body weight. Here on the ranch where this video is being taken, the bucks pre-rut typically weigh somewhere between 220 and 240 pounds. By late season, most of them are down to, say, 180 pounds. Quite a loss. It's easy to see how many bucks perish from being so run down in the rut and they simply can't recover. Another thing I've observed during the rut is watching a yearling buck with spikes run up at full speed, hitting the dominant buck broadside with their little antlers, piercing a lung. You have to believe that death isn't far away. The rut is brutal on bucks in a well-managed herd with a tight buck-doe ratio and a healthy age structure with lots of mature bucks. And how quickly the bucks can recover after the rut has a lot to do with the quality they'll display in the coming season. Knowing this helps us as managers understand what we need to do to help the bucks aid in post-rut recovery. And these include things like food plots with cultivars that are maturing and in their peak nutrition at the time of post-recovery, or supplemental feeding. Generally, overall habitat conditions are pretty bleak when bucks are coming out of the rut, with snows in the north or the dry conditions and dormant conditions of the deep south. For over the last 20 years, I've spent almost all winter in quality deer habitat, camera in hand. And all that time, I've only been able to video a buck breeding a doe twice. So this is a special opportunity for me here, hoping to catch the actual breeding on film. You can see the doe showing all the signs of receptivity. The dominant buck seems to be maintaining point position, fending off all the competition. I'm in the perfect setup to capture it all. What a neat experience. So here we go. Maybe? Maybe not. Well, for sure, everybody's pretty excited here, so there seems to be deer running everywhere. What do we do? So, after what I'm guessing is a failure to launch, the breeding pair look the situation over and try to decide what to do. Well, let's get rid of those guys first, and, maybe a new venue is something we need. Maybe that'll work better. So, after a little indecision on what to do, they all go off at full speed to try again, maybe somewhere else.